Hey folks, this is Vince with Dad's Gaming Addiction, and today we're going to check out Blueprints. It's a game for 2 to 4 players for ages 13 and up, with the average playtime being about 30 minutes. So, Blueprints is a game that'll task players with constructing buildings. And in this case, players will be given different blueprint cards, and their job will be to take these different dice and build those structures. Now, these dice are colored differently. Some are green, some are orange, some are black, and they each score differently based on their color. So it'll be up to the players to efficiently build their buildings in such a way to the point where they would earn the most points during that particular round. And the player with the most points at the end of 3 rounds will end up winning the entire game. So with that being said, let's take a quick look at the components and see how the game is played. Alright, now here's a quick snapshot of the components. We'll start with these blueprint cards up here. Basically, these tell players how to build their structures each round. In this case, you've got a 3D picture of the building off to the right-hand side, and a graphical representation or blueprint on the left-hand side. These numbers represent how many dice high, or how many floors high, that this structure should be. And if you look closely enough, you'll be able to see that this blueprint matches the design over on the right-hand side. You can see this left side and this right side are too high, just like these two indicate here, and then the two in the middle, shown here, are 1 high. Below the blueprint cards, you've got award cards and prize cards. The award cards come in either gold, silver, or bronze, and it's 1, 2, or 3 points, as you can see here in the upper left-hand corner. Players are awarded these at the end of every round. These are prize cards, and as you can see, these prize cards have a specific design on them, and if you happen to complete your structure at the end of the round in such a way that matches one of these designs, you'll actually win one of these cards and are awarded the number of points in the upper left-hand corner at the game's end. It's important to note here that while there is a scoreboard over here on the right-hand side, and there are markers over here to track a player's score, this scoreboard here is for a particular round only. The scores are actually reset at the end of every round. The only use for this scoreboard, well, besides the other stuff that I won't get into right now, but the main use of this scoreboard is to determine who gets an award card at the end of every round. And again, when it comes to endgame scoring and who wins the game, it's the award cards and the prize cards that really matter, not what's over here on the scoreboard. We've also got these player screens here. Each player will receive one of these, and basically players will be placing their blueprint cards that they're given for that round behind their screen so that they can hide their structure from other players. And each of these screens actually have the scoring system listed on the inside, just so you don't have to keep referring to the manual. I'll explain how scoring works in a minute. Last but not least, we have 4 sets of dice. There's a set of orange, a set of green, a set of clear dice, and a set of black dice. And again, each of them score differently. Now, their colors also represent the materials that will be comprising of your building. For example, the orange is your wood, black is your steel, green is your recyclable material, and the clear dye is your glass. Game setup is pretty simple in that each player will take a player screen and a matching score token. The blueprints deck is shuffled. The prize cards and the award cards are put out near the center of the table. Now, the award card types that are used all depends on how many people are playing the game. In this particular example with 2 players, the bronze and the gold cards are actually removed from the game, and only the silver deck is utilized. You'll also place all of the dice into this cloth bag. The game itself is played over 3 rounds. At the beginning of each round, players will draw themselves one of these blueprint cards to put behind their screen. 2 dice will be drawn from the bag and put into these in-demand material slots here. There's a 1 and a 2. Now, it doesn't matter what value they are, just so as long as they are different colors, as they help to break ties. After that, players will draw so many dice from the bag to form the public pool as far as materials go. The number of dice you draw all depends on how many people are playing the game. After you draw them, if you want to randomize them a bit, you can. And the round will begin with the starting player. Player turns are pretty simple. On your turn, you'll just go ahead and take a look at the available dice in the pool, and you'll go ahead and place it onto your blueprint card. After you do that, you'll just take a die from the bag to replenish the stock here. The number of dice in the pool at the beginning of the round should always stay the same. So once you take one, you should always replenish one. After you do that, the next player will go. They'll take a look at the available dice. And of course, you have to keep the same number. And let's just say, for the sake of argument, he chooses this one. Okay? And then he'll go ahead and replenish. Then this player will go. He'll go ahead and take a look at the available dice, pick one, put it on the blueprint. And this will go back and forth until players have chosen and placed a total of 6 dice. Now, I know that sounds pretty easy, but there's actually a few placement rules that you have to consider while you're doing all that. For example, whenever you go to place a die, you'll have to place it on a number. You cannot place it onto one of these filled spaces. The other thing that we have to worry about, let's say that on a future turn, you decide to place a die on top of an existing one. In order to do that, it'll have to be equal to or greater than the die below it. In this case, you've got a 2 here, so you could not put a 1 here. It'd have to be a 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. If you happen to have a 5 here, you'd have to find a 5 or a 6 in the available pool in order to place another die on top of it. Now, for the sake of expediency, let's just say that all players have placed their 6 dice, and that'll signal the round's end, and then scoring will begin, and scores will be tracked on the scoreboard. Again, the scoreboard is reset at the end of the round, but I'll get into that in a minute. Now, what you'll do is take a look at each of the dice on a blueprint to see how it scores. The orange dice, you'll score each orange die individually. Score 2 points per adjacent to the orange die being scored. Dice are adjacent if they share a face. So if you've got an orange die and a green dice right next to it and they're touching faces, then that would be 2 points. And again, you would score 2 points for each adjacent die to that orange die. The green dice score a total of 2, 5, 10, 15, 20, or 30 points for using a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 green dice respectively. So if you have 3 green dice on your blueprint, you would score a total of 10 points. The black dice score individually, and it depends on how high they are on the building. For example, you'll score 2, 3, 5, or 8 points for being on the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, or 4th floor, respectively. So if you have a black die on the 4th floor, you would score 8 points. So basically, you want to put the black dice as high as you can to get the most points out of it. The clear die score individually as well, and they are just basically worth the value listed on the very top of their face. Now, I admittedly just threw a lot of words at you, so I'm going to go ahead and show you a visual representation of what I'm talking about. We'll start with the white dice here. This is a completed blueprint, so the player has already banked 6 points. Starting with the white dice, there's 1 here and 1 here. There's a 2 and a 3, so that's 2 points and 3 points. That's a total of 5. The green dice, there are 2 of them, so based on the little guide here, the player would get 5 points for having 2 green dice on the blueprint. The black dice scores based on how high they are, and because he has one on the 2nd floor, that is worth, according to the guide here, 3 points. And finally, you've got the orange die on the very bottom here. It is adjacent to a total of 4 dice. There's 1 in the back, 1 in the front, 1 on the side, and 1 on top. So again, 8 points for that orange die there. Add them all up, it's 21 points. 21 points plus the 6 points for completing the blueprint itself will allow the player to put their marker onto the 27th space on the scoreboard. Once again, for the sake of expediency, let's just say that blue went ahead and tallied his score, and he has 25 points. And it looks like green won out by 2 points. The player with the highest score will get the top award card. In this case, green had 27 points versus blue's 25, so green would earn himself a silver award card for endgame scoring. Now again, if you're playing like with 3 or 4 players, you'll have gold, silver, bronze, you get the idea. And you'll divvy out cards for 1st place, 2nd place, and 3rd place appropriately. You'll also want to take a look at your blueprint to see if any of the prize cards would fit your particular description. Just to show you what that looks like, go ahead and focus in on these. You'll get a skyscraper prize card if the building has a height of 5 or greater. A lot of these cards don't have that many as far as height goes, so you'll basically be giving up the 6 points to match your blueprint exactly to win some of these cards. The structural integrity prize, this building must include 4 or more with 4 or more dice with an identical value. So if you have like 4 2s in your building, you would win this particular card. Geometer's prize, the building must include dice with all values 1 through 6. So you must have a straight somewhere in your building in order to win that card. And Materials prize, the building must include 5 or more dice of the same color. So again, players can earn these prize cards in addition to these award cards to bank some points for endgame scoring. And that pretty much sums up a game round. To clean up, players will go ahead and wipe the scoreboard, take all of the dice, put them back in the bag. They'll go ahead and draw themselves some new blueprint cards. Of course, they'll keep any award or prize cards that they may have earned for endgame scoring. And this will continue over the course of 3 total rounds. And the player with the most victory points as far as award cards and prize cards go wins the game. And there you have it, a brief look at blueprints. It's important to stress here that I did not cover all of the rules found in the manual, but hopefully this will give you a general idea as far as what you're in for should you decide to pick up this game. First impressions. It's an excellent game. There is a few learning curve hurdles that you have to get over first. The biggest one, I think, is that you'll need to sort of figure out, well, there's actually 2 in my opinion. The one is obvious. It's how the different dice are scored as far as color goes, and picking those dice and putting them onto your blueprint in such a way that'll score you the most points. That's the obvious one. The not so obvious one is how the scoring works as far as the round score and the victory point score. The score on the scoreboard, again, is only to determine who wins these award cards, and in the end of the game, these prize cards, these purple prize cards, and these gold, silver, or bronze award cards are the only things that matter as far as who wins the game. So, I mean, one strategy might be to try and get the highest score on the scoreboard in order to win these award cards, and that's what you want. However, if you can't, for whatever reason, get your dice that are available to you to jive well with your blueprint, you may end up having to try and complete these particular prize cards in order to get some victory points. Again, these are worth 2 apiece, and you can earn more than 1 on a particular round. So, one valid strategy is to get the highest score, get these awards cards, and just beat everyone out that way. Or if you're feeling lucky and want to try for these different combinations on these prize cards, you can do that and earn 2 victory points a pop for endgame scoring. Once you figure out the difference between the scoreboard points and these victory card points here, I think you'll be in good shape as far as learning how to play the game. If you want to see my full review, you can at my website, www.dadsgamingaddiction.com. If you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel. That way you can keep up to date on any new content I happen to publish. This is Vince, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.